Hi, can you hear Claire? Can you hear all right?
Morning.
Hello? Hi,
Morning,
morning.
sir.
Yeah, all right. So I guess we can start.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So maybe Victor can get us some update on your progress. Yeah, thanks.
All right. I'm just gonna share my screen quickly. Sorry, just hold on. Share screen one. Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So this is with regards to the framework for the paper. I'd had a look at some papers from the like past papers that were published. A lot of them I couldn't. Maybe I didn't look hard enough, but a lot of them were already sort of. There were sort of publications that already had like results, so they were sort of talking about what they did, and not
Yes.
necessarily about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
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 you're
for
gonna
this,
have that. So you're gonna have okay. So at the main conference, you'll typically have that. This is what we did with
yes,
some results. To be
yes,
honest, I don't think you'll be accepted at the main conference if you don't have
like
results.
results. Yeah.
And typically the acceptance rate is about 30 or 40%. So for the workshop, the workshop help having results are would be helpful. Even if, but it's fine to have preliminary results. In other
Uh,
words, saying we did this. This is what our preliminary results show, and then have that. But the nice part about the workshop is you can have more. Proposal type of papers saying we propose the following, and then we have some preliminary results,
okay.
and then which says this looks like a promising direction. And then usually what happens is the idea is to discuss it at the different at the workshop itself. Um,
Okay.
so MEVE though it used to be more with on the infrastructure. There was a lot of the infrastructure, the peer-to-peer things about 10 years ago. Um, but nowadays it's moved slightly more towards what do you call it, immersive VR and mixed reality and user experience type of things.
Yeah.
So but that's okay. Net games, I don't think Net games is actually going to be here again, or hosted this year again, or held, I should actually say. That was also a place where there was a lot of infrastructure being discussed. So that GameSys conference might be the, call it, Net Games replacement. So and I
Okay.
don't think there has been a GameSys conference before, so that might also be an interesting one to consider. I think both of them will have a 6-page limit. Um, so that's fine. So the whether you go for the one or the other one isn't. Yeah,
So 6-page limit. Uh,
usually, yeah. I see there's a YouTube link loaded on about GameSys 2021,
Okay. Let me check
so
that
which
out.
might be useful to watch. I'll just send the link on chat.
Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you, sir.
Continue.
So, all
Okay,
right.
all right. So
So
basic. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Victor,
sorry,
go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna continue on the framework, but I don't want to stop you before I proceed.
Okay. So this is what you have right now, right? I mean the
Yes.
sections and the bullet points. Okay, good, good.
Yes.
I think that's but I imagine there's still like conclusion, right? Maybe the fifth section, and it's not yet
Yes.
complete, right?
Wow. I just realized I didn't add the conclusions.
Okay, so usually you would have a fifth, like a conclusion. Okay, but I
Like
think that's
discussion and conclusion.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. There's a
Jesus.
discussion section, there's a conclusion section.
Just
Okay.
wondering what was missing. Just it's fine. Okay.
So okay, I think it okay, it's okay. I think the layout so far. What I would like to see actually now is more towards the. I think you can probably do a good job for the introduction and the related work as you've been, immerse yourself in this.
Okay.
And I guess what might be next, an important next step is about our approach. Okay, the part
Yes.
that's there. And here I would like to see, I guess more bullet points in basically to expand that into more details
Okay.
as
Okay.
to how you would like to, present and describe here. And basically the goal here or the purpose, what you like to achieve is to allow your readers to understand like, like what is your solution? Why is
Okay.
it a good way to fix the problem you've mentioned so far, right? And why
Okay.
does it make sense? You see?
Okay.
And why is it unique? It has to answer like all these questions. Okay?
Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm saying is, when you are presenting this section, the third one, those
Yeah.
are the things you should be able to answer.
Okay.
Okay?
All
All
right.
right. So I guess very quickly, just asking you like, what is your approach? Can you like quickly like answer me? Because
Okay.
this will become what you write down on paper,
But
right?
yes.
But
Yes.
yeah. And so what is your approach to solving the problem?
Okay. The approach is to uh, develop a system, should I say a network of devices in which they are sort of built on the vast network or the VON network. And the idea is to distribute storage and resources including such as storage across all the devices.
Okay, so you're talking about fully peer-to-peer way
Peer-to-peer,
to
yes.
organize the network and manage it, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right. So how is this different or new or from existing work?
Okay, so from existing work, I
Yeah,
think
like VON, I mean VON has been
yeah.
proposed. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, VON has sort of been proposed, I think, in the gaming sector, which
Okay,
is, for example, the Minecraft. I think you said there's been some
right.
application for Minecraft, but it has never actually been deployed in an industrial environment. This
Oh,
I'm talking
okay.
about. At least not that I can think of, unless Professor Herman knows of one. But it has never actually been deployed in a smart environment, like an IoT sort of environment. So the idea is to test the system, or should I say, create a system, or at least as a starting point, in a smart factory context, and see how it performs in terms of realistic, implementation. Does it perform better, or in terms of what we plan to, use it for? I mean, in terms of storage, for example, does it perform better than the standard ones? Is it better scalable compared to the other ones in a smart factory context now? And from these results, then we can sort of decide if it's going to be possible, or should I say, realistic to use it in other applications.
I
Such
see. In the wider IoT application areas.
yes,
Is that what you're
yes,
saying? Okay.
yes,
All right. Okay. Good. I think that could be something novel. Okay, and new.
okay,
In that you're taking basically some. I mean, I'm trying to speak from a reader's perspective.
okay,
That you are taking something that has been developed for the game industry or in online games. But now
yes,
you're seeing whether this distributed approach to manage nodes and spatial data could work in a different kind
yeah,
of settings, right? Or
yes,
application,
yes, yes,
right?
exactly.
Okay. All right. So, all right, and you like to explore the possibility and basically
Yes.
gauge the feasibility for this.
Yes.
And with
So-
the implication and intention, or the implication that if it's been demonstrated, then potentially it can be used in even wider areas in
Yes.
the IoT space.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, okay, all right. I think that's a good
Just-
point. That's a good point.
Just to
All right.
confirm, these are points that should be in bullet point, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Exactly.
okay,
What you have
sorry.
mentioned so far, those should be the bullet points
Yeah.
in somewhere
Okay,
in
sorry.
this outline.
Um,
Okay. You have to
Okay.
find like where to put them best.
Okay. Okay.
It could be in the introduction though. Note that it may not be in our approach because you might have to
Okay.
be able to answer these questions for your audience first. You
Okay.
know, to sort of gauge their interests and engage them, for them to understand why they should spend the time to read about your work.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. Yes. I'm
Okay.
getting-
All right. So my next question is, so what do you have to do that's different in order to adapt this from gaming use to as you say, the industrial smart factory scenario?
Okay.
What do you have to do? What's something different that you have to do or you have to go through in order to?
I think. Sorry. I think the major the major, at least what I can think of for now, I don't know, it could be something different, but would be the infrastructure. What would be the best infrastructure to sort of implement the vast library at the moment, or should I say with what I understand from the current systems in place, it's mostly virtual. So it's sort of in a simulation mode, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea is, how would we translate that into physical implementation? What is the best? What is the best way to create nodes, physical nodes? Across,
All right.
across, yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is a good point. All right. And the one thing I can think of that you might have to answer or address in your work is that in the virtual world, basically, node and node can become neighbor, even if they are really, really far apart. You know, whether this is in the IP network or whether you're talking about distance on the IP network or in some virtual gaming world, right?
Okay.
However, in the physical space, distance can be a problem, you see.
Yes.
Because if you're too far apart from each other, you may not be able to communicate directly. Also, in a, like, as you say, smart factory or maybe like a nuclear facility, you could be facing things like walls, or like blocks that could prevent the direct communication or transmission of signals between two nodes. Even though one is distance, of course, the other is even if they are close, they could be blocked in their communication, right?
Okay.
Maybe a wall or something, right? So those will start to impose because of the physical limitation. Those, I would imagine, would be your challenge to solve or address, you see, or to evaluate. For example, like how do you deal with nodes that are too far apart to the point that they cannot communicate and thus cannot be aware of each other? Okay, because the whole point of the Voronoi overlay network is based upon a mutual understanding between nodes as neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, because that way you can maintain the sort of the topology connectivity of the Voronoi diagram and define who your enclosing neighbors, who your close neighbors are, right? And you can communicate with them and do neighbor discovery, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, the protocol still be maintainable, and how do you sort of fix or recover it? I would imagine that would be
a challenge. How do you?
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is the unique challenge indeed that will you will have to face and solve. You know, when you are turning an algorithm such as Bong onto the physical network or into
Okay.
and
So
it's true for things like vehicles as well. You know, if you're thinking about
yes.
doing this on vehicles, which may be close but could be further apart.
Okay. So basically, it means there needs to be some form of metric to measure distance, perhaps. In
Well,
the
yes. Well, distance always you can measure very physically, as in like how many centimeters, meters that are there apart, right? And what's like the communication range, and
okay.
whether it will be blocked, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this will be my question though. So how are you solving this?
Okay.
Can you answer or give your best shot?
Let me. um. I think it goes down back to the distance sort of metric. Because in terms of, I mean, for example, I'm gonna give you a basic example now. If we do use, say, Wi-Fi, for example, as a connectivity mode, there's usually like a range in which that device can cover, right? Um, so as to what networks we would use, then I'm not sure if we're gonna use all of the connectivity modes and just the wireless. But for now, if it's just a wireless, then if the range can be defined for each device, then the idea is there sort of has to be a bit of should I say matrix or a formula that sort of estimates um, um, uh, what the potential neighbors that could be around based on the range that the network can cover, or the distance range, if that can cover that can cover. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the other thing you might also consider is if there is I mean, if it's even routable at all, and do you then delay the messages until there's a routing path available again, or does it mean that you have to have
Yes.
a
Herman is talking about strategy.
yes,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
do we need to have some kind of hybrid network where you try and use the peer-to-peer network most of the time, but in the situations where you don't have there is no route available, then you revert to some kind of a fixed infrastructure or something like that. But that the second one is, I think, because then the argument you can make is basically, okay, but why don't you just then have just fixed infrastructure? Why do you mess around with all this peer-to-peer networks?
Exactly. Right.
Oh, okay.
Which is a
Okay, I
valid
see.
question, and I think it would be good to have an answer for that, or at least a counter argument for that. But I think you must think about, okay, what is the strategy when there isn't a route available,
Okay.
or how do you recover from that?
Yes. And I would argue that's potentially the more important and interesting question. Okay.
Okay.
Because we all understand when you're developing practical applications, finding an engineering solutions, you try to find things that work, right?
Okay.
So there's all kinds of hacks around
Mm,
things,
okay.
kind of, cheats, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
although they will work, but
Mm,
oftentimes they are also not generalizable. They are
okay.
kind of like
Yeah.
very specifically designed or found to deal with the particulars of a situation, right?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is just an idea or a concept. The more general your solution can be, the more impact it can bring.
Okay.
Okay. And usually
Okay.
in research terms, that's a bigger contribution. Okay.
Yeah. I see what
Okay.
you mean.
So
Okay.
this is why, two papers or works that are too engineering oriented, like really, really specific, talks about like very specific problems and even very specific solutions.
Mm,
Those are usually not being appreciated,
okay.
by researchers or in research companies. although it could have great engineering values and solve the practical problem, but we are striking a balance.
Yeah, I think if you have, well, so my viewpoint on that is that what you do should be so generalizable, and I think typically you should use the engineering aspect of that as a way of verifying or demonstrating that the strategy or the approach that you are proposing also works, in practice as well. So the contribution is more general, and the engineering part is just to show, and CE does actually also work in this, but it is generalizable to a more general context. I think that's that's the tricky part. Yeah.
Right, fully agree. Yeah, I mean that's the best. If you can show it works in a specific engineering scenario, but also it can be generalized to other scenarios. That's great work.
Okay, so
that
it looks
make
like
sense?
that would probably go in like the introduction and that kind of thing in terms of the contributions.
Well, I think in your introduction, yeah. In your introduction, you should also state what exactly is the problem that you are trying to solve, and why is it a difficult problem to solve, and kind of why has other people not completely solved it. I think you should, at the end of your introduction, you then basically say what we are doing is our approach is the following, and this is why our approach is making a contribution. So you want to state that, and then basically so after you've read the introduction, the reader knows what exactly is the problem being addressed, what have other people done, and what will this paper add to the discussion, or to the the set of possible solutions that can be used. And then the rest of the paper, you're basically packing out the details of, okay, let me explain in more detail, the related work. Let me explain in more detail how the proposed system works. And let me also show you the experiments that we did, or the preliminary results that we generated, in order to give evidence or give credibility that the solution that we propose is actually a workable solution.
Okay.
And then in the end, typically what you do is you say, okay, now that I've shown you the preliminary results and I've explained the solution, where to from here? And that's basically what future work is about. Future work is about, okay, this is what we've done. How will we expand that? So conclusions in future work is basically looking back at, what was the problem? How far did we get in solving that problem? And basically, what do we still need to do to complete the solution, or to extend the solution, or something like that?
All right. Okay. Future work. So do you think I should split the conclusion and discussion, or should I all put that in like one section?
I mean, I usually have a conclusion section, and then sometimes what I do is the last paragraph, or I have a subsection in there which is future work. But I usually put that under a heading of. But I mean, that's something that you can basically sort out in the final draft of the. It usually depends on how much space you have.
How much? Okay. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. All
right. So Victor, does it make sense so far?
Yes.
With the feedback, today's feedback.
Yes.
So all right. So I guess what I'd like to see next time is our approach section can basically be a lot more detailed. Okay, it can still be bullet points, but it should be a lot more detailed in terms of, and also maybe some of the other things if you want to put them into the introduction part. Okay. To basically lay out, I guess, the main concepts. Okay, right now it's just sections, right? But we cannot really tell or see like what's the uniqueness, why is it important, right? All that. I think next step would be to lay that out in more details to the concept level.
Okay.
All right. And just one question is, do you have good enough ideas about how to address applying Bong in the physical space now? or do you feel that that is something you need to think about?
I have ideas. It's just the only challenge I'm thinking of at the moment is the cost effectiveness, or should I say, for example, I've been thinking of Raspberry Pis, but then I don't know if any company is willing to spend. I'm sure they are, but like on a general perspective now, like would the company be willing to spend money for 1,000 Raspberry Pis, for example, or 10,000? And
So,
is it even
okay, so I
necessary?
think so I think you should be careful now of I think you're jumping too far ahead to think about the actual implementations in a real
Implementation.
system.
Okay.
You're still at the stage of showing this is the proposal, right? You first
Yeah.
want to be able to show the proposal is actually workable. But okay, think about it
Okay.
like this: the first rocket engine, or the first car, or the first version of the internet wasn't cheap, right? It was expensive to build, but it demonstrated that it was possible and the
Okay.
content was feasible. And then people, once they knew it was possible, they then did a lot of work to make it cost efficient and to make it
Okay.
to make it cheaper. So
Okay.
I think you should not focus on the cost effectiveness now. I mean, I've got a bunch of Raspberry Pis. I mean, if we can show that the idea has gets backing and people are interested in, I think you will then get people that are willing to say, okay, let's do the experiment. Let's do some more research into this. But you're now still at the concept proposal path. This is the
Yes,
idea
I
that we
agree. I
have.
agree. Yeah. One thing is that it's very much still a proof of concept work here.
Okay.
For research work, you should always keep in mind anything you develop now on a physical device can be made much smaller, efficient, in
Okay.
in time. You see?
Okay.
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 So even if it could be expensive to run the whole thing, doesn't mean that it's not valuable.
Okay.
Because if you can demonstrate that this is actually something that will work and it will accommodate things like communication issues, like some of the issues facing reality, the physical space, yet the routing can still work, right?
Yeah.
Or it can still recover from loss of communications or delay communications, right?
Okay.
Or like what's the relation between them? Then your work would still be valuable, even if it may not be, practical in 5 or 10 years. You see?
Okay.
Okay, that does that make sense?
Yes, it does make
Yeah.
sense. So I shouldn't
Okay.
overthink the perfect version yet.
Right.
Just
Right now, you need to get some key things right, like make this,
workable
for
version.
example, fully decentralized, make it work, right? Make it workable, accommodating for physical limitations, for example. Right? Okay. All right. So any other questions from you?
I think the only thing I was gonna say, oh yes, I thought I was gonna be able to come to Stellenbosch tomorrow, but I think I'll come next week, Monday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't know if that's
Okay, cool. So I'll try and come through as well. To see if we can just get you set up there. But yeah, I have to just make some arrangements for me to be able to come through to Stellenbosch. But I'll let you know.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All
Cool.
right. Thanks. So thanks, Victoria
Thanks,
and
Eugene.
Herman. All right.
Thank
So
you.
we'll sync at the Tuesday next week, right?
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bye bye. Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye bye.